Hey everybody, and welcome to my 1989 Trek 660. I purchased this about a month ago, and man, this was a this was a nice find. I've been looking for a vintage steel frame, a lugged steel frame bike for a long, long time, and yeah, patience definitely paid off with this one because this bike, when I picked it up, was all original. Every single thing on it was original, from the brakes to the drivetrain, everything. The brake pads. The brake pads were 35 years old. Okay. The hoods are original. We're gonna go into full detail on this thing. Really get some good close-up shots. We're inside my garage right now. It's like 95 degrees outside. So I was gonna film this outside, but it's just unbearably hot outside. So yeah, sorry, you're gonna have to deal with the less than ideal light, but I'll get you some close-up shots, as I said. Yeah, this bike, it was listed on the line on Craigslist of all places for about a month, and there were no buyers, nobody interested apparently, and I'm not gonna disclose how much I paid for it, but I got it for a steal. Let's just say that, okay. Yeah, I mean, this thing is just incredible. So, without further ado, let's get some close-up shots of this thing. So, it's an, as I said, 1989 Trek 660. There you go, 660. And excuse me, I just got a piece of cable in my foot, and that's okay. It happens when you're barefoot in your garage where you do work. So, 660, 1989, True Temper, which is pretty cool. Apparently very rare. Apparently this bike is very rare. I joined like a vintage Trek page. Everybody's like, this thing is really rare. It's worth a pretty penny. People are already making me offers, and I'm like, look, I just bought it. I'm not ready to sell it. And it's honestly, it's so nice. It rides so well. I don't know if I ever will sell it. The 660 apparently was marketed as like a racing bike, as a crit bike. And yeah, it's very, very aggressive, the geometry, especially compared to my 520. My 520 feels like a cruiser compared to this. So we'll start at the front and work our way back. So at the front here, original Shimano 600 shifters or brakes. Sorry, these aren't shifters; these are just brakes. I treated the hoods with a little bit of stuff, but they're 35 years old, so you can see there's a little bit of brittleness there, a little bit of cracking. It looks like somebody at one point laid this bike down on the right side, on the drive side. There's a little bit of scuff marks here and there on the right side, and I'm assuming probably after that they said no more. I'm not riding this bike anymore. Yeah, so original brakes matching, the tricolor Shimano 600. And on here somewhere it says SLR, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, right there, SLR. I added this little headlight that I had originally from like an old bike that I had. It's the original Nitto stem, original handlebars, Shimano 600 matching brakes. I put on new brake pads. As I said, the old ones were 35 years old. They didn't really stop or slow down too much. It's nice to be able to stop and slow down. I also got a new set of rubber here, Schwalbe Durano Plus. Original wheels, the original Matrix ISO-C wheels. Really cool. I mean, the chrome is just in such good shape for its age, A little bit of rust here and there, but inside it's rust free, so it's, I think, just really on the surface. Yeah, pretty amazing. The brakes, I mean, they work really, really well. Here, I'll pull the caliper and you can see it actuate nice and smooth. Yeah, as I said, original stem, everything like that, and again, the chrome is just in unbelievable shape. I love the lug looks. I love it so much. Shimano 600 shifters, down tube shifters, matching. The rear is indexed, the front is not, so you kind of just have to match the front, where the rear is, so you don't get rubbing against the inner or the outer plate of the front derailleur. Original logos, they're bleeding just a little bit, but really not too bad. There's a little bit of, pitting here and there, but for 35 years old, it's pretty incredible. I just added this bottle cage recently from my shop. This is the one that it came with 2 bottle cages, but they don't really hold the bottles too well, so I wanted to see how this one works. And it's really stiff, so I'm going to break this one in a little bit, then switch it to here and put the new one in, because I bought 2 of them. USA, I think that's so cool. 660 track. It came with this frame pump too, which is pretty funny. The guy was like, "Oh, you want the frame pump included with it?" I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "No extra money or nothing like that." I'm like, "Oh, all right." And it came with bottle cages. It came with actually some really nice pedals on it as well. But I picked up these double-sided from my shop. The shop that I work at, not my shop, but the shop that I work at. So SPD on one side and just flat on the other side, in case I don't want to ride with my SPDs. Shimano 600 crank arms, original chain rings. I mean, look at the teeth. The shape of the teeth is incredible. This bike was really not ridden a lot. Shimano 600 front derailleur, and again, look at the shape of it. The chrome, everything. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing about having a white bike, though, is look at how dirty it gets very quickly. Again, the chrome on here just is incredible. This, I think, is so cool. Shimano 600 Ultegra. That's before it became the standalone of Ultegra. And again, same matching brake calipers, new pads, of course, the tricolor, Shimano 600, and Shimano 600 rear derailleur. So everything on here is matching. As I said, it's index in the rear. It's a 1424 on here and a 5242. So yeah, you gotta have some strong legs for this thing. And when you get into this 52 on the 14th and you go and sprint, you can hit speeds really high, like well above 35, 36 miles an hour. It's pretty incredible. And again, original wheel set. It's just this bike was such a nice find. I was so happy with it. I rewrapped with some fresh bar tape. The bar tape that was on there a long time, and underneath it was pretty disgusting. So I replaced that, put on some fresh bar tape, and of course, the black hoods are leaching a little bit to the bar tape, but that's okay. As I said, new tires. The wheels were super out of true. So in my spare time when I was not working at the shop, I kind of just went up there and trued the wheels up a bit. I say a bit. I got them as true as I could possibly be. So there's no more. There was a lot of side-to-side action and kind of hopping up and down a little bit. So I really fixed that a lot. They roll so smooth now, and especially on this fresh rubber. The rim tape that was on there was original, go figure. So the rim tape was kind of out of position, and the tires that were on there were not seating properly. So that was like a big low spot. So I switched that. I did a little bit of work to the bike. I took a lot of things apart and like re-greased them, re-lubed everything. It came with the original saddle as well, but I switched it out because it was just hard as a rock. It was very uncomfortable, and people had said, yeah, it wasn't comfortable to begin with. So switched that out. I still got it, the turbo something saddle. Still have it, of course. Put on my old First Comp saddle on here, which actually still holds up pretty well, even though I've put so many thousands of miles on this on my 520 Grando. Rear tail light. I'm gonna get the mount for the First Comp. I'm gonna take a trip to my local Trek store, being that you can't even order them online, which is whatever. Got the saddlebag here so I can carry some tire levers, an extra tube or two, being that these are, only 25 mil tires. You can get a puncture pretty quickly, especially when these tires are rated at like 85 to 120 psi, so you're running a lot of pressure in there, and it doesn't take much to get a puncture. And I don't need to carry a pump in there because I have the frame pump, which is so cool, and it actually works. It works, which is, hey, can't beat it. Other than that, yeah, I mean, like I said, I took a few. I did the very first thing I did when I bought the bike. I took it to the shop because I wanted to show my friend who likes old vintage bikes, and my boss who I know would appreciate it, even though he doesn't really come from the road bike world. He comes more from the mountain bike world. he looked at this thing and was like, "You paid way too much for this thing, probably. Like, you bought this for like hundreds to maybe thousands of dollars." And I'm like, "Nope." So, yeah, he was pretty surprised. He was very happy for me. But the rear brake cable and the rear housing was just way too short. It was constantly pulling on. The guy who I bought this from said he had it tuned up, but I'm a bike mechanic. I don't really believe anybody anyway, but I figured, hey, I'll just go through this thing, and I did a tune up on it myself because I just want to make sure this runs as well as possible. And it was throwing the chain ring off the front when you go to shift to the 52, and same thing for the 42, which I'm assuming was like that for a very long time, judging by the scars on here. I don't think the front derailleur was ever properly tuned with the limit screws and everything like that. So fix that so don't drop chains anymore. With these screws on the back here, you can kind of position the rear wheel how far it is offset. It was as far forward as it could be, so the chain was very slack. And I also had a concern about it dropping out of the dropouts there, so I dialed these back out, put the rear wheel further, which extends the wheelbase just a small bit, because this bike can be very twitchy. It's very nimble, it's very agile, but it can be a little twitchy, especially in crosswinds. So did a few things there, indexed it properly, and set the limit screws and everything like that so I don't drop chains, and had to align the front derailleur as well a little bit, so because when I was going in the 14, even though I was in the 52 and the 14, it was like rubbing against the outer plate. So no matter how you indexed it with the limit screws and everything like that, it just wasn't wanting to work. So I aligned that, so now this bike is perfect. No rubbing, no nothing like that. I had planned to probably like switch to cold set the rear to like a 130. The more I thought about it, this bike is so original, it's so clean, I don't want to alter it in any way. My boss was like, dude, you really should just take like all the components off it and fix it with some other stuff like that. And I'm like, I want to ride it as it was intended to be, which is just so fast. This bike is so extremely quick, so nimble, so agile. I'm really happy with it. I'm very happy with my purchase. Oh, I also did a front brake cable and front housing as well, because the housing and cable were frayed, and it's nice to be able to stop, even though I don't really use the front all that much. Yeah, the rear brake pads, I switched them out probably like 2 weeks ago, and it was just like the bike wouldn't really slow down all that much, and when you can go over 30 miles an hour easily, it's nice to be able to slow back down. And yeah, when I put the brake pads off and I looked at them and they were all dry rotted and they were the original ones, I was just a little shocked, a little baffled. I read a lot about these wheels, these Matrix ISO-C wheels, and these people said that they never really braked all that great to begin with. As you can see, all the pulsations along the braking track. Apparently, I guess when they were bonded together or welded together well, there was always like a high spot and a low spot, so you can kind of see that. And the front, yeah, I mean, obviously they didn't really use the front all that much, because you can see the track is really, it's only being broken in certain spots, and then in other spots not. So there was definitely some things that just were never properly set on this bike, like the brakes. They weren't aligned properly. The derailleurs were never indexed and limited properly. But I'm a bike mechanic. I know these things. I know how to do all these things, and I know what to look for and how to set it all. So for somebody who just kind of bought the bike and then just rode it and then didn't really care to take care of those things, it obviously they didn't ride it all that much, so which is good, so the teeth aren't all frayed and and bent, and things aren't all dinged up and messed up. But as I said, it looks like they did go down one time, because you can see scrape mark there, scrape mark there, scrape mark there, and some scrape marks there. So as I said, I have a feeling they probably rode it around, wiped out one time and went, all right, that's it, forget it. And then probably stored it, which is, hey, good for me. So yeah, anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I really love this bike so much. It's so fast, so nimble, so just cool. The factor of it being 35, 36 years old and running so well. I would seriously bet that this bike could take on any modern racing bike. I'm sure aerodynamics are more advanced now, but this bike could just hang with anybody. I really do. 22-mile-an-hour average speed. That's what you're gonna probably average on a modern bike. I mean, I have friends who average 20 to 21 on their 16-pound UCI rated carbon aero bikes, and this is a lugged steel frame. Aerodynamics were not really super a play at that time in 1989, so yeah, I think for its day, this is probably one of the top of the line Trek racing bikes. I think there was one more that was above this, which was a bonded aluminum, and that to me is just doesn't interest me at all. First of all, I don't really care for aluminum bikes, and then you bonded. It just doesn't seem like the greatest idea to me, but hey, what do I know? So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. Yeah, I mean, I plan to maybe one day sell this. If I do, I'll make sure to post a video saying, hey, I want to sell it. Any buyers? This is my price. I'll ship it if you really want to. But for the foreseeable future, I don't see myself letting this thing go. It's just too nice. It's too clean. It's too much fun. I even though it's so well preserved, I like to ride it. I've already put probably about 250 miles on it in the month that I've owned it, and that's with me working like almost full time and still riding my other bike and swimming and doing everything like that. So shows you how much I really enjoy this bike. And it's just, I mean, it's so quick. It really is. It's so quick and just so fun and so enjoyable. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.